There's a long weekend coming up here in Europe next week, but don't take your eyes off the important data. Nina and Sarah are here to discuss why. And Sarah, I guess the main event is going to be the latest news on manufacturing in Europe, right?
Yeah, we have the PMI's data for the Eurozone, France and Germany coming out next week. And there are two things that are important in this. First, this is the April data. So this will be the first indication of economic activity in the second quarter that we just entered. And the second thing is if manufacturers have started cutting back prices. In the March manufacturing data, we saw the manufacturers start scaling back prices for the goods they sell to customers.
Yes.
And this is an early sign maybe that we could see even lower inflation. So this is definitely something to look out for in terms of this whole discussion, deflation threat, low inflation, ECB, won't they ease all that stuff.
And really inflation is the key concern now, isn't it?
Yeah.
In Europe these days.
It is. It's what everyone's talking about. It's what people think the ECB should be worried about as well. And in terms of the data as well, it will likely go towards shaping expectations for 2Q GDP figures as well. So it has importance across a range of measures.
Okay, and we'll get figures on consumer confidence in Europe next week as well. Anything to be cheerful about there, do you think?
Well, consumer confidence has been steadily improving. It's at its highest level since November 2007, I believe. So it's slowly starting to improve, again supporting the ECB's view that a modest recovery is in process and gaining traction.
But the consumer confidence index is still negative, so we're not at the really high speed yet.
Not so good. Okay, in the UK though, how are retail sales doing there, Sarah? We'll find out more, won't we?
Yeah, they've actually been doing really well lately. In February, it was a rise of 1.7%, which was way better than expected. So it'll be interesting to see if this has carried on into March as well. In general, the consumers in the UK has been a big part of the recovery. So there seems to be a bit of optimism.
Also, what's interesting is that real wages have actually been picking up as well, as recent data have shown. So that's hopefully seen feeding through into consumer spending as well, especially with inflation easing.
That might encourage some more spending, mightn't it? The UK economy's been performing a little bit more strongly than Europe anyway recently, hasn't it? But we'll have the latest Bank of England minutes and get their thoughts, won't we, next week?
So we're likely to see in the minutes next week what MPC members, what policymakers view to be, in terms of the slack in the economy that they've been talking about. Now we're in this phase 2 stage of forward guidance, so how much slack there is in the economy. But what's probably more interesting will be future meetings and minutes on the horizon, given that the unemployment rate's now fallen to 6.9%, and whether any of the MPC believe that that rate should be actually
That's an important threshold, wasn't it, they
that.
reached this week on unemployment.
Yeah.
Okay, on the corporate front as well, there's Unilever next week. What are they coming up with?
It's their first quarter results, and we've seen a raft of corporates, actually, many companies warning about the effects that they're seeing in emerging markets in terms of currency effects. And Unilever is expected to be no different when it reports next week.
Because they sell all over the world,
Precisely.
right?
And not only that, not only FX headwinds, but we're also looking at the impact of a late Easter, bad weather in the US, and also the early Chinese New Year. So all of these factors are at play. So a soft start to the year, the first quarter is expected, but that has been well flagged by management at the full year results. I think it's more of a case of how bad the deterioration in underlying trends is in terms of directing reaction when the numbers hit next week on Thursday.
Okay, that's plenty to look forward to after the weekend. Thanks very much, guys.